Hello, everybody. This is Emily Aries here, the founder and CEO of Bossed Up, and I am so excited to welcome you back to our Career Crush series. Every Wednesday at 1 o'clock Eastern, we interview an incredible woman who has crafted her career with passion and purpose, so you can get that inspiration and insider tips for doing the same. We took a little hiatus in the month of August, so I'm so excited to be back with everybody here. And our special guest today is Maricella Herrera, the Director of Global Membership at the Ellevate Network, one of Bossed Up's big partners who we adore. And she's tuning in today from New York City. Thanks so much for being here, Maricella.
Thanks, Emily.
So I know you've got an incredible background, including an MBA from Columbia. You did your undergrad degree in Monterrey, Mexico. You're from El Salvador. Let's talk about where you come from. Let's talk about the very early stages of your life and career. Because I think here at Bossed Up, we acknowledge that the personal and professional are intertwined. And so I'd love to hear just in terms of how you got started. What were your initial career ambitions? And how did you get to where you are today in a nutshell, if you want to start from the very beginning?
Sure. Thank you for having me today. As you said, I am from El Salvador, so I was born and raised there. Salvador is a very tiny place. And after high school, I went to Mexico, to Monterrey, to do my undergrad. Started out as a marketing major, which is really funny because at the first year, I decided that that was not my thing. Left, changed over to finance and focused solely on finance for the next few years. Graduated and started at what is Citigroup over there, doing real estate banking for low-income housing development, which was like niche as niche can get.
Yeah.
And as different from what I do now as it can get. So it was interesting being there, though, because I was the youngest person in the team. It was a newly formed team. I was the only woman in the team. And it was great. I had a great mentor and a great sponsor and grew with the team as it grew, but then decided to come to New York to do my MBA.
Awesome.
And yeah, it was great. You know, being in Mexico, it's culturally different from El Salvador, but it's still pretty similar in many ways. So I think that was very helpful to actually get me started in my career.
Yeah, and it's so inspiring to hear that, and we're going to hear more about the work you do with Ellevate in a minute, but that you can start as a marketing major. To any college students tuning in, I'm thinking of my baby sister who's just started her first year at Smith and is dealing with oh my God, does my major dictate the whole rest of my life? The answer is not always, not necessarily. I love hearing about the early pivots you already made and just how different that first job is from your current position. And I have to add in here, I was just telling you, Maricella, before we went live, that my grandfather did his business degree in Mexico City. Guess where he ended up working for his entire long, awesome career?
Was it Banamex?
Citigroup, actually, yeah. Citibank, yeah. So he ended up being in Bogota, Colombia, where my mother was born, you know, doing New York to Bogota relations with Citibank for a million years. So it's just such a funny small world. And that's great. More about the Ellevate Network. How did you first get involved? What is Ellevate all about? And what work do you do in particular?
Yep. So Ellevate is a women's networking group. We started off about 20 years ago. So it's one of the early starters of the whole thing. What we do is we give women the opportunity to connect with each other. We really are about closing the gender achievement gap in business by helping women continue to learn, especially learn from each other, and having that network to lean on, get new job opportunities, insights, etc. I got involved when I was doing my MBA. So the founder of Ellevate, which back then was 85 Broads, was a Columbia Business School alum. So I met her, and she was great. We got along really, really well. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do because, as I said, I was very into finance, that was my thing, but then realized that maybe that was not my thing and that maybe the culture wasn't what fit me best. So I was looking for something with a little bit more impact and a little bit more social-driven mission. And so started talking to Janet back then and started working here right out of business school. I've been here for 4 years.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. And I think so many millennial women, but really millennials in general, can relate to that desire of having a career with impact, right? We want to make a paycheck that we're happy about, but we also want to have a purpose-driven life, which can sometimes feel like the new gotta have it all, right? It's like another layer of what we should be doing with our lives, which is a lot of pressure. So can you tell us more about how you made those pivots, and what advice you might have for someone who's feeling that dissatisfaction, who's feeling like, I'm not happy just clocking in, clocking out, and collecting a paycheck at the end of the day, but maybe making the transition to a purpose-driven career isn't so easy after all. And actually, before you answer, Maricella, I want to remind our folks, which I forgot to say in the beginning because I haven't done this in a month now, to feel free to tweet at us live throughout today's broadcast. I'm monitoring Twitter here, so we'll be able to ask your questions of either me or Maricella live in real time. Use that hashtag CareerCrush to keep our conversation consolidated, and that's what we use every week. So you can go back and look at other Career Crush conversations as well, or you can tweet at me at BossedUp.org, or Emily Aries, or at M. Herrera Avila. That's MHERRERAAVILA. It's in my head. It's the brain to mouth connection's a little rusty, but tweet at us, ask your questions live, and I can't wait to read them on the air here. So back to the original question. What advice do you have for someone who's feeling that way about, I want to make a pivot? How do I get started pursuing a career with passion and purpose at the center of it?
God, I think the first thing is to talk to people. Sometimes you don't even know what's available. So for me, I was so narrowly focused on one thing and one thing only that I forgot to explore everything else. So it wasn't until I started meeting people who were doing it, who were really focusing their life on making a difference and still making a good paycheck, that I saw that that was kind of an option. So talk to people, see what's out there in terms of what are the options to doing something that matters to you. I think that's first.
I love that idea of exploring through relationship building. Something I'm a huge advocate of. It's just like having those one-on-one coffee meetings and phone calls and informational interviews. I think so many times, especially young folks, just in those first 10 years of their career, feel intimidated at the even thought of reaching out to someone who's so, who they admire so much. But have you found, especially through Ellevate Network and the connection that you all provide across your digital platforms and your in-person events, similar to the Bossed Up Power Hour series that we have the last Thursday of every month in New York and the second to last Thursday every month in DC, have you found that women really do want to help other women on the whole?
Oh, absolutely. It's incredible, really. The amount of connections people are really open to talking about what they're doing, give advice. We do in New York specifically what we call the mentoring meetups through Ellevate, and they're basically speed dating, but networking and mentoring. So you come in with a question and you get to meet a bunch of really successful women who can give you their insights, a little bit of feedback, a little bit of answers.
That's great. Yeah. And I always encourage folks to come with concrete asks, right? Because sometimes people who want to help are like, make it easy for me to help here. I'm busy. I don't know what you need. And so doing a little bit of legwork and thought on your end first of getting a resume together, getting your target, job option, the dream job that you want, doing a little bit of research and figuring out where that might be or what that might be, and then asking for concrete feedback, right? And I love that idea of that mentorship, speed networking. How can people find out more about that?
They're all on our website. So all of these are events that we do in New York. So EllevateNetwork.com. That's Ellevate with 2 L's, and you can find them there. And it's interesting what you say. It really is self-awareness, having that awareness to say, this is what I'm looking for. And sometimes we don't even have that. But you can use your friends and what we like to call personal board of directors for it.
Tell me more about that. What is that whole concept?
So we've been toying with that idea quite a bit. Sally is a big proponent of that, and it's having those trusted advisors who you don't have to tell them, obviously, you're my personal board of directors, but those people you go in for like a gut check when you're facing a tough decision, And we'll be truthful, and we'll point you in the right direction and know you enough to give you that feedback and the little nudge you might need.
That's really helpful. That's such an MBA thing to say too. I love the idea of framing it that way. But when I started Bossed Up, when it was just a twinkle in my eye, I asked my best mentors and friends and business folks I admired if they would serve on a pretty informal board of advisors for me. And I realized later I could have done that years ago. You don't need a company to ask your friends to help you in that way. And just having that accountability and that community can make such a difference. The other tool I have to plug, because I'm a fan of like bringing resources to need, for those who are watching this and saying, well, I don't know what the hell I want, right? Like I know what I don't want, but I don't know what the hell I do want. We have a free tool, an ebook on bossedup.com called the Life Tracker, which I wrote to encourage people to sort of take this structured step-by-step way of figuring out the direction that they want to get in and then how to get there. It involves drinking half a bottle of wine as well. So I think friends, board of directors, whatever you call it, like that is an exploratory process that it sounds like your career included in the early start of it. So take us back to business school. Lots of folks ask me, how should I decide whether or not to go back to school? How did you make that decision and what did you get out of it?
So for me, it was I was doing my job. By then it's what you have to do. You're head down doing your job and being very good at it. But if you want to get further up, for me, especially in the actual work that I was doing, being very finance heavy, I needed to do that. I needed to go to business school as part of the next step. And also, so because my life has been very mobile, from El Salvador to Mexico, I kind of keep going north. I hope I won't go any northern than this. But part of that was to opening my doors to something else. And that's how I decided. To me, it wasn't so much of a choice. It was always in my head. I want to do this. Did a lot of research, talked to a lot of people actually to see what was going to be the best fit for me, because it was a big decision. And ended up coming to Columbia because the people I met from there were great. And I think that's, if one thing you should know about business school is that the most important thing you're going to walk out of there with is the people you've met. So I would have never been exposed to who are now my friends, who are extremely successful people around the world, if I hadn't gone there. So
that's amazing. And you wouldn't be at Ellevate, probably. It sounds like you met their founder. So tell us more about your actual day-to-day job too, because I know lots of women out there want careers that you can help other women in. Ironically, there's like a meta element to what I do at Bossed Up, helping women navigate career transition. A lot of women say, I want to do what you're doing, right? So how did you find your sort of niche in the Ellevate Network team? And tell us more about what it means to be the director of global membership. Like, what are you all working on, and what do you love most about your job as of right now?
So it's interesting because, as I said, I started off as a marketing major and flipped to finance, and now I do a lot of marketing. So it was kind of always there in the background. I have to say, we are a small team, so we are a small company. And as such, we do a lot of stuff. Each of us wears a lot of hats. For me, what I do a lot is try to work through with the team on how do we grow Ellevate. Do we expand regionally to other chapters, build chapters in other cities? How do we convert all of the people who follow us, all of our kind of audience, into actually becoming members for Ellevate? And how do we bring more value to the membership?
That's great. And are you still offering that September membership?
Absolutely. Yeah, I do need to plug that in
because I didn't want to say it unless it was still going on. So
it is. We are doing a September promo, so it's 20% off Ellevate membership using code INVESTINYOURSELF. We've seen that people coming back in the fall after the summer are really focused on their career. So let me get to those goals. And we do think that having the network will help you get there.
I love it. I love it. So what is it like going from El Salvador to Monterrey, Mexico, to the Big Apple? I have to ask because I started Bossed Up in part because I burnt out completely working in the world of politics, and I had reached this level of success early on that felt a little hollow because I wasn't actually really happy or sustainable in that role. And I love helping women in today's burnout work culture hack into it and turn it into something that they can really create sustainable success out of. So I travel up to New York at least once, if not twice a month. And every time I'm there, I'm a little bit like, whoa, I love DC, but I'm like intimidated just by the fervor you can feel when you get off the train in New York City. What is it like having traveled and been such a global citizen, now calling New York City home? And how do you stay?
I don't think anyone does. It's been insane, honestly. Like, the change has been very, very, very different. Even Monterey was similar to El Salvador, kind of a very self-contained, smaller town, although a lot bigger. But New York is, the fast pace of it is like nowhere else. So that was a big thing to get used to, I would say. But you're also exposed to so many wonderful things. Anything you want, you can find. So it's a matter of actually prioritizing. So if you prioritize what you want, what you need to do for yourself, first and foremost, that's it, really.
I love that. And I feel like that's true for everyone everywhere. And it shouldn't be radical. But in today's world where women are still told to play all these roles, taking care of other people all the time, it's a radical thing to actually ask yourself, what do I need today to be happy or to get stuff done, and prioritizing yourself. Like, it shouldn't be radical, but yet it is. So I love that advice. I have to ask, on behalf of all the women in our community who identify as women of color, or as Latino women in particular, going to Columbia Business School as from El Salvador, right, as a Latino woman, I have a feeling, correct me if I'm wrong, I hope I am, that you might have found yourself in a minority-majority situation. So tell me how that experience as an emerging leader, as someone who is in a women's leadership organization, as a woman of color, how does that experience equip you to sort of show other women the way, or be a role model in that way for those who are in our very diverse, millennial generation and looking to break those glass ceilings in every which way as well?
Yeah. So it's funny because I never thought of myself as, it was just part of who I am. And I was surrounded by people like me until I moved here. And the way I handled it was by not paying attention to it. Yeah. Honestly, it was just doing my thing and being myself. The more authentic you can be, people will either like you or not. And we would say in Spanish, you don't need to be a gold coin that everyone will like you. So it's not the way it is. I do try, though, now that I think about it more and more. I've developed great relationships with other Latinas in business that are doing great stuff. And I think it's become this thing of being very aware of it. At Ellevate, for example, I will always be arguing that we need more women of color and more Latinas and more minority women on stages, or showing more about all the great work they're doing, because they are. And it's just a matter of showcasing it, because you can't be what you can't see. And it's more about being a role model, I think.
I love it. Very cool. Well, Maricella, I feel like we have covered so much. We have just a few minutes left. If you could tell a young Maricella just getting out of business school any advice, right, any words of wisdom for how to navigate that process of aligning your life with your purpose and your passion, what would you go back and tell yourself if you had the chance?
I would tell myself not to worry so much about the small stuff. I think a lot of us are, when we're high achievers and we're trying to get stuff done and rapidly go where you think you should go, things don't always work out the way you think they do. And that is okay. And they'll work out. They'll work out in a way that works for you. It's just a matter of not sweating the small stuff.
I love that. Thank you so much for that. I feel better already. You know what I mean? I feel like especially September being such a busy kind of back to school feeling month, that patience is an underappreciated element, right? I think it's part of it's a virtue, I think, that we can all cultivate more as we navigate our way in an iterative process to the life and career that we would love. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Maricella. As a quick reminder to folks who want to get more involved with Ellevate Network and all the fabulous ways in which they connect women and create that peer-to-peer mentorship network, head over to ellevatenetwork.com. Use that code for 20% off this month. What's the code again?
Invest in yourself.
Invest in yourself to join their network. And I have to also mention, we are in the midst of an exciting challenge that Bossed Up is running that you've helped us get the word out about. So thank you for that. We've teamed up with Rent the Runway for our Pre-Game Your Career Change Challenge, kicking off October 4th. You can join us now for nothing at all. It's totally free. It's going to be an 8-week in-depth, week-to-week group challenge that we're doing with women across the country to just help you polish up your professional image in time for making that career leap later on or for pursuing a promotion. So if you want to get your, online presence and your resume and your cover letter and a clear sense of direction all on lock this season, you've got to head over to bossedup.com/pregame and pregame with me this fall. Why not, right? That's basically what we're going to do, is get you all set for that career in life that you deserve. Maricella, thank you again for your time today. Anything else you want to add to our viewers, how we can catch up with you or keep up with what you're up to?
Thanks, Emily. Yeah, really, networking is important. Check out Ellevate. Everything we're doing is there. It's on our Twitter feed. Tina and my colleagues do an awesome job of sharing all that stuff on there. And just thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. And thanks for the reminder for those folks who are watching this on YouTube after the fact, where I know a lot of you are tuning in from. You can check out Tina Pettigrew's CareerCrush. She and I teamed up a couple months ago. She is the marketing
senior community manager.
That's the title. And total boss, also at Ellevate, and we just love profiling your team. So keep them coming, and we will keep up with all of y'all soon. Thanks for tuning in. As always, use that hashtag CareerCrush to continue the conversation after today's lunch break hour. And in the meantime, until next time, keep bossing. Thanks, Maricella. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, everybody.